Happy to be here. Uh, what I learnt about children is not from my MD course, but from my own children first. So I still remember the day when my son did his maths test, and I asked him very anxiously, like all parents, did you get your marks? He said, the teacher was absent. Next day I asked him, well, your teacher, she is not well, daddy.
A satirical style of writing while driving a very strong message to her readers. She is multifaceted, multi-talented, and a supermom to boot. Please welcome Twinkle Khanna.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mandira. I may not deserve such a grand introduction, but I didn't deserve a name like Twinkle either. But for both these outcomes, there is one person largely responsible, and that is my mother, who raised me in the most idiosyncratic manner possible. Everyone who's come here has spoken about not doing well in math. I was the opposite. So when I came to her as a plump nerd with my exam results and I said, Mom, look, I've got 97 in math. She said, well, it matches your weight. And even when excited about the success of when I was newly writing columns and I was excited about the success, I called her. And I said, Mom, did you read my column today? And she said, no, but I want to tell you that yesterday I noticed none of your serving dishes match. At that point, I screeched. What is the point of having you as a mother? I wish Hema Malini was my mother. At least I would get a Kent water purifier free. But over the years, I soon discovered the reason behind her peculiar, philosophy of raising me. When you don't take success very seriously, it's easier to shrug off failure. When I finished 12th grade, I wanted to become, out of all things, a chartered accountant. But both my parents were in the entertainment business, and they were very keen that I follow in their footsteps, and I did. And 8 years later, I came to the conclusion that I had spectacularly failed as an actress. Now, though this was a bit disheartening, I was not shattered, partly because, obviously, of the way my mother had raised me, but also because I realized that having failed at something did not mean that I was a failure. It meant that I now had the opportunity to try and succeed at myriad other things. So I cut my losses, not my risks, moved on, and here I am today to share with you one of the most important things that I've learned, and something I tell my kids as well, and it's very simple, is that life is like flying a kite. Sometimes you have to hold on tight, sometimes you have to hold it loose. Sometimes your kite will fly effortlessly. At other times, no matter what you do, you cannot control it. But even when you're struggling to keep your kite afloat and the string is cutting into your hand, don't let go. The wind will change in your favor once again. Just don't let go. I didn't, and I'm here today. Thank you very much.
Author, columnist, interior designer, producer, now speaker. That was beautiful. Thank you, Twinkle. Up next is someone who, from being an ace player himself, has been through thick and thin, and now is coaching India's rising champions. Calling in Pulela Gopichand to share his Haarkoharao stories as player and now as mentor.
This is okay. Here is okay? Yeah. Good afternoon, all of you. I think it was wonderful to hear all of you speak. I'll just share a couple of things with you. Things for many years, for me, sport was about winning. So important that all my life, this for me was the most important thing.
1992, only to get dropped after a poor performance in 4 games, but he never gave up. With the right support, he learned from the experience, practiced harder, and made it back to the Indian cricket team in 96. The rest, ladies and gentlemen, is history. Please welcome on stage none other than Sourav Ganguly.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start, I first thank Sourav for inviting me here today. I absolutely like the concept because when Twinkle was speaking, she said her mother should have kept a different name for her. But when she spoke about children and when she spoke about how to make things going and about the kite, I could see the twinkle in her eyes. So you know, this concept about children and kids and how to handle failure and success is a marvelous concept because, you know, when you grow as a father, when you grow up, you know, I've been a kid one day, I've been in a team sport, and now I have a beautiful young girl at home who's 15. And I see her go through all this, what I did when I was young. You know, my experiences in success and failure in life is a bit different from Gopi. I was hearing Gopi speak about various aspects of sport and how to educate and how to individually become better rather than think about winning or losing. But we came from a completely different form of sport and a completely different structure. We lived in an environment of team sport. We lived in an environment where it was about the team and it was and that's the way it is. Don't look into it, just keep looking at my cricket. So as I always keep talking about that 1992 trip in Australia when we went, because a lot of my skills and a lot of my cricket and a lot of my work during my tenure as captain came out of experiences of that trip in 1992. We all learn in life, we all learn with experiences, as Dr. Harish Shetty was saying, that it's not always about the books. It's about experiences and it's about how you handle situations, makes you actually a better person, a better individual, or a better athlete in life. I remember the 1992 trip of Australia when I was just 17-year-old and I landed in that tour to Australia. In those days, touring Australia was very, very tough. You know, it was supposed to be the hardest place to play the game. It still is, but it was a lot harder those days in the early 90s. And I remember the first day when I landed in Perth in 1992. In those days, flights and travel was not as comfortable as they are now. You know, there are business class lounges. You know, you get well looked after. You only had to be on an Air India flight to get to Australia around the world, and that too in economy. So as we landed in Australia in Perth, and it was a long flight, I was a bit jet lagged being in the southern hemisphere in that part of the world, and I just come out of my room and was walking around in the lobby for a breath of fresh air. It was about 6:30 in the evening. As I was going through that, you know, one of my colleagues and one of my teammates walked up to me and said, "What are you doing for dinner?" And I was absolutely starstruck at that time, you know, 17-year-old, watching some of the stalwarts play the game on television right throughout my young age. My dad was a part of the cricket world, and he always wanted me to play the game. My mother, on the other hand, wanted me to study. It's a family where you know, two different personalities want their children to do two different things. So as I was on the walk that evening for dinner, I vividly remember that I hardly spoke anything. It was an evening for me to listen, an evening for me to... a quiet word which I remembered came out that evening after dinner. I said that I should not have been on the trip. I did not know how to react. I did not know what to say, and I just listened. He said, Australia is such a difficult place to tour, and it's not easy for any young player. It's always easier to make a debut in your own country and then travel to these hard places to play cricket. Obviously, the evening finished, and I was in a hurry to finish that evening because I did not want to hear anything more, because I knew I had to pass 4 months of tough cricket in this part of the world. So the tour finished, as they were saying, 1992. I came back after the series, 4 months, hardly played anything, not even 4 games. I just played 1 game on the tour of Australia, and that too against the likes of Curtly Ambrose and Courtney Walsh and Ian Bishop, who were, when I stood, I actually reached their waistline. That's how tall they were, the typical West Indians. I came back from the tour and didn't play international cricket for 4 years. But the best part of the trip of those 4 years was it taught me how to become a better cricketer. We all live in a world of success. We all live in a world of failures. It's hand in hand. It's very easy in life to say that, we'll try, we'll give everything we have, but it doesn't matter whether we succeed or we fail. It doesn't work that way. Yes, to an extent it does, but in a world where you want to succeed, where you want to make a name for yourself, where you want to be called as a successful person in whatever profession you do, success means a lot. Success means something. And it's very important in any professional world is to find a way to succeed, because when you find a way to succeed, you find a way to handle failure as well. As a young boy, as a young girl, when you teach your children, when you teach your boys and girls how to handle life, how to grow, and how to do different things, amidst the freedom, amidst the opportunity of allowing them to do what they want, it's very, very important to make them understand that listen, this is the way you need to go forward. We support you. We let you do what you want. I see a distinct change in my 15, 16-year-old girl every year. When she was young, her likings, her dressing style, her options in life, and I see that change every year. And I see the mom at home who's so rigid on the daughter that you have to study, you have to be this, you have to be that, you have to make sure you go to your dance school because the mother is a classical dancer, and the daughter wouldn't do that. So it's about teaching the children. It's about teaching your boy and your girl to how to handle life, how to handle different aspects of life, which is so very, very important. When I came back in 1996, and went on to play for 3 or 4 years before I became captain, a lot of my leadership skills and captaincy skills emerged from that period as a player, and even that 1992 trip. And I'll keep it short because we have a discussion after this. Over the years and over the period of various ways of trying to build a team under pressure and under different situations, there are few important things which I learned was very, very important. One was identifying the right talent. It's about who you identified. Once you identify the right talent, it's about allowing them to express. All of us in this room and all of us in professions, when we grow up, whether in school, when then we go on to get bigger jobs, some go on to play badminton like Pulela, some become an actress like Twinkle, some become a cricketer like me. All of us have this fear of failure, that what happens if we fail? And all of us want to succeed, all of us want to create a name for ourselves. And I think as a leader, as an individual, when you help your children grow up, when you are in a leadership situation in a team, look at Pulela, for instance. He manages some of the best badminton players in the world at the moment, whether it's Saina Nehwal, whether it's the boys champion, whether it's PV Sindhu. there are different personalities. There are different personalities who want to succeed. There are different personalities who, with the badminton racket, want to be the best in the world. And he's delivered for them. He's a coach. I know he can only work to a certain distance. At the end of the day, it's about the individuals and the players who actually go and fight it out in the court. It's the same for cricket. It's the same for cricket. It doesn't change. But there are certain skills which are very important when you're in a leadership position to make sure you make your children or your players understand. And it was in my case to take the fear of failure away from individuals. As I said, when you identified the talent, you make sure you identify the best talent. That's always judgmental. That always depends on your own judgment or the selectors who you deal with. But the biggest thing to succeed, or the biggest avenue of success, was that when a Virender Sehwag or a Yuvraj Singh or a Rahul Dravid went out to bat, they did not worry about what the selectors spoke about them, what the media spoke about them, or what the captain thought about them. It was all about that red ball and about scoring runs. Once you create that atmosphere of taking the fear of failure away from an individual, you allow him to succeed, or you give him more chances of success, because every individual is different. Every individual has different sets of talent. Every individual has got different mindset, but it's about allowing every individual to express in their own manner for them to succeed. I believed in man management skills.
A big thank you to all of you for that wonderful opening session. It was lovely to hear all of you speak. All of you had different takes on success and failure, and it was very nice to hear. Now, in this panel discussion, first up, I'd like to tell everybody in the audience, we're not celebrating failure. We're looking at failure as a learning experience. What can we learn from failure? What does failure do to our children? What does failure do to their worldview? And how we as parents can change that worldview and make, growing up a little easier for our kids. So, Ms. Nair, I'm going to start with you. In this constant race for success, in school as well as in life, kids, I'm sure you've seen fear of failure and don't respond well to it. We'd like to know your take on that.
Thank you. Failure is a very emotional experience. When you look at children, you can see feelings of anxiety. You can see feelings of extreme unhappiness. There's nothing very pleasant about failure. There are some children who get a report card.
Failed as an actress, and therefore new facets opened up to you. And even Sourav said, sometimes when you fail is when you get the best out of yourself. Could be in the same field or in other aspects or another field altogether. Would you want to respond to that?
So I think as parents, we do our children a great disservice because we treat all of them alike, and we also see them as reflections of ourselves. But each child has attributes which are unique to them. I had them when I was very young. I used to write when I was very young. But because, again, there's pressure to, your parents feel that my child should be like me. My child, these genes are there and they're very important and, they would succeed. But genes are just part of our story. I have a neighbor who's extremely, he's a movie star and he's a great dancer. So we were just having this discussion last Sunday. And he can probably do a tango around all his contemporaries. And he said, I beat my genes. Have you seen my father dance? And I said, I beat my genes too. Have you seen my mother act? So I think when we look at children, we have to see what are they really good at. When I look at my son, I don't judge him. I try. It's very difficult not to judge him by my standards or that I was good in academics, so he should be the same. And I remember going with him to this open house. And on the way, I said, you really should do well. Maths and science were my best subjects. And what are you doing about it? And he said, Mom, how much did Dad get in maths? I said, I think he just about passed. He must have failed. So he said, but isn't he more successful than you? So I was like, well, yeah. And I'm glad that he understands that there isn't one parameter of success. You can be successful by capitalizing on what makes you unique. And I think that is what we need to tell our children.
Open houses, now everybody's spoken about an open house. I'd like to have maybe Pulela and Sourav respond. How are your open houses when you've gone? Have you gone for any school open houses, Sourav?
Yeah,
and what are your thoughts on them? And have you ever had to have any of those difficult conversations with any of Sana's teachers?
Sana is very clever. She takes me when the parent-teachers meeting happened. So I asked her one day, why do you take me? One morning she woke up and said, Dad, I have a meeting at school which is very, very important. I said, yeah, okay, I'll come. And I was up very late the night before because there was a game at Eden, and I said, okay, I'll come at 8 o'clock in the morning with you. As I went and I sat through the entire open house, I realized there was nothing important. And the principal just spoke, and I heard, and I said, why did you ask me to go? He said, no, I've not done well this term, so if you go, maybe the principal will not scold me that much. So children are clever. Children are not that stupid. So I realized that, in school, she has, the parents need to go to every language teacher, whether it's a Bengali or a Hindi or an English or a math, and she would invariably take me to the Bengali teacher. And she would brief me the night before, say, the Bengali teacher loves cricket. Yeah, she's been telling me that she wants to see you, so can you meet her? I said, yeah, of course, why not? It's your teacher. And dads who are very busy, who do a lot of things in life, and it's not like the moms who spend a lot of time with the children. And we, because of our other responsibilities, our time with the children get reduced a lot, and we get very quickly emotionally blackmailed by our kids. So it's not like with the mom, because the mom sees the child right throughout the day and can act accordingly. So as I kept going to the Bengali teacher once and twice, and then I asked her, why does she take me to the Bengali teacher all the time, and why doesn't she take you? So my wife said her Bengali marks is the lowest. So children go through this, but I completely agree with Twinkle that every kid should be allowed to excel in whatever she wants. I think it's very important in life to make the kid aware. I firmly believe that the first behavioral awareness has to be important, that you need to be nice to people. And everybody is different. When you play cricket, everybody doesn't perform at the same level, but you still find ways to survive at the top level. It's the same thing in life. Everyone won't be the first boy in class or the first girl in his school, but everyone has qualities which are different from the other, and it should be allowed to develop. But awareness is very, very important. I am a big believer that you need to understand the tough things in life to realize how good life is.
Absolutely. You need to see the lows.
Yes. You need to see that to realize, and I keep telling my daughter that, you got to realize all these things when you give food to them, they eat half, they don't eat half. Then you teach them that, listen, there's so many people who don't get to eat, so you must finish or take whatever you want to eat. So these are basic principles which you bring your kids up, and then obviously at the end of the day, when they grow up, they realize what's good for them. With time, as they grow older, as they go to colleges, you realize what's good for their life, because till a certain age you don't know which is the right avenue for them in life. When you get to a certain age, you realize, and then you start directing them to that part of life and make sure that they are successful. But I am a firm believer every human being, whether it's my boy or your boy or her children, they only get better with experiences. They only get better with what they see, what they go through, what they see their friends going through, and that's the biggest learning you go through with kids, and that is very, very important.
Pulela, as a player, I'm sure many times you've seen defeat, seen failure. from your coach and say from your family, what is the best piece of advice you've ever got? Something you live by, something that you would pass on to other people now being a coach and mentor to them?
Well, when I was playing, we started off not knowing that this would be our career till a very long time. My brother went to IIT Madras, so my standards academically at home were pretty high. So to
That's
match,
why you said physical literacy is very important.
so for me, till the time I got a job in Tata Steel in Jamshedpur, I wasn't sure whether I would